I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Oops, the podcast. I am Giulio, joined, as always, by Francis Ellis. How you doing, buddy?
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me with you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. We have a great guest today, a hilarious comedian. You might have seen him on MTV's Safe Word. He's also the originator of the sketch channel Handsome Dancer. Please give it up for Matt Pavich, everybody.
Yes, I can hear them. It's beautiful. I'm going to clap for myself.
Good for you, buddy. I actually texted Pavich before this being like, let me know what credits I should say because Francis has been accusing me regularly of giving terrible intros to all of our guests.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Matt, you should see some of it. Like we'll have, a really big guest on and Giulio takes the reins on the intro and he's like, this person is so funny. The funniest. Give it up for her. And you're like, do they feel welcome? I mean,
one time I was, my buddy and Dan and I run a show, and he was running a show by himself. And one of the hosts, Michael Stofford, like he doesn't do stand-up that often, but he was hosting the show. And Daniel Simonson was on the show. You guys know Daniel Simonson.
One of the funniest people alive.
Yeah.
He's great.
And he tells Stofford, he goes, this guy, just tell him they're from Norway, that he's from Norway. That's like Simonson's intro. And Stofford gets on the mic. He's like, this guy just flew in from Norway, never done stand-up before. Daniel Simonson. Simonson was just like, what the fuck are you?
Everybody loves that.
Yeah, but you know that's not the worst intro because I feel like then the crowd would potentially be more on his side or be so blown away by how good he is that, they're like, we just watched a phenom.
This is the first time he ever did it. He's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
I bet he talked about it for like a couple minutes. And that's right. I've never done stand-up before in my life. My cat.
Matt, you for those of you listening at home but not watching, Matt has behind him a wall of sports memorabilia.
Yes,
but of a very kind of eclectic collection. There's sort of a New York theme. We've got, is that Vinny Testaverde or Joe Namath?
That's Joe Namath.
Joe Namath, yeah.
Broadway Joe. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Patrick Ewing, a bunch of other, and then some what look like home pictures. Family pictures.
Christopher Walken, signed Christopher Walken picture. He's from Astoria, so you got to represent.
Is the Pavich jersey a relative or just one that you ordered?
Nah, that's me, man. That's from my One Hand Touch Football League. I play it on Sundays. Shout out Chop City. We won the championship 5 out of the 6 last years. We're still going strong. That's Mario Mandzukic, Croatian
soccer player.
Yeah.
What's your connection to Mario Mandzukic?
I look like him a lot, and
True.
my father is Croatian. So it was that one summer that we finished second in the World Cup was a
to
real roller
France.
coaster ride. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember the guy who went home early because he wasn't playing?
Oh, yeah. That was a big story.
Yeah.
Who was that?
It was Giulio, do you remember this? There was a soccer player on the Croatian national team who after in the group stages, he was coming off the bench and he was such a prima donna that he decided to basically quit the team in the middle of the World Cup and went home because he couldn't handle that he wasn't starting.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it was Konchar.
Yeah, and Nikola Kalinic. And they then went on to the World Cup final where they lost to France, admittedly, but this was a darling team in the World Cup, very small, former Yugoslavia, is that right? Yugoslavian country. And for him, then he was the guy who had left the party before it turned into one of the great parties of all time. So shame on him, right?
Yeah. Also, I know we came in second place, but Croatia couldn't have partied any harder than they did. So in my world, we won the World Cup because like they made it a national holiday. They like there was no more partying than you could have done in Croatia. So to me, we won.
It made no difference. Yeah.
Did they declare the national holiday before the game had been played?
No, that would have been extreme. I also I'm not even sure they declared it a national holiday. That's like me exaggerating, but they didn't work for a week. Like there was parades through all of Croatia.
Love it.
You couldn't have gone any harder than we did.
National pride.
Yeah.
I have one more point to make. It's very telling that our guest today has a far better, more professional podcasting setup than the two hosts of the show. I find that a little bit of a bummer. He's got his headphones on. His mic arm is perfectly set up. He's got a nice background. Meanwhile, Giulio and I are going on our 13th or 14th locations. From which we've shot this thing. So thanks for being better than us, Matt.
I'm trying, baby. I'm trying to start a podcast of my own. So look out for that.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet, dude. That's crazy though. A guy leaving the team because this is just really, I can't stop thinking about this because it's so insane. Like that is a person who needs some perspective.
Yeah.
You're on a World Cup contending team and you are upset that you're not on the field, so you're quitting. Like, where are you going to go, dude?
So
the MLS?
Yeah.
Dude, it's also to do that in a country like Croatia, I feel like it's just dangerous. I mean,
right.
You are turning your back on the country and then going where? Back to the country, presumably.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
I remember I've been to Croatia a few times, Matt, and
Nice.
it's one of my favorite places on earth. We actually took a glorified Uber, me and three friends, all the way from Montenegro to Croatia. It was like a 9-hour drive.
How much did that cost?
Like $300 total. It was so much. We had planned to drive to the city that they used to shoot Game of Thrones in.
Dubrovnik.
Yeah, we had planned to drive to Dubrovnik to take the ferry from there out to Hvar, which is where we were going.
Hvar's
But
beautiful.
we got to Dubrovnik and the ferry was sold out. I don't know. We couldn't figure out how to get them online. And so we were like, shoot. So then we had to take the Ubers or the taxis to continue driving all the way up to Split, which was like an additional 3 or 4 hours.
That's my favorite part in place in Croatia is Split.
Split's great, yeah. By the time we got to Split, my friend was wearing a T-shirt that he'd bought at some little stall down in Montenegro, and it was for some Serbian soccer team.
Oh.
And he was wearing it when we got out of the cars in Split, and this guy, the second my friend got out of the car, it was so clear that we were like American tourist idiots. The second he got out of the car, a guy came up to him and he was like, "Are you not from here?" And my friend was like, "No, we just rolled in." And the guy was like, "You need to take that shirt off right now, or people are going to hurt you." And he was like, "And if they don't, I will." And he was like, "No problem. I'm not wedded to this shirt. No big deal."
Throw it in the water.
Yeah, exactly. And then we went out to Hvar.
That's crazy.
Hvar is one of my favorite. I mean, if you're still into like partying, that place is fucking bonkers, dude.
Yeah,
So
that place
fun.
was pretty nuts too. I
Yeah.
fell asleep on the beach in Hvar.
No surprise.
Yeah.
Hopefully not wearing a Serbia jersey.
No Serbia jersey in sight.
Hilarious.
Matt, I want to ask you about and Giulio, I'm sure you have some questions for Pavich too, but given that you two know each other pretty well, Matt, you and I have crossed paths in a couple of green rooms at New York Comedy Club here and there, but our conversations have always been kind of on a surface level. I am such a fan of the Coincidence video.
Thank you.
And I'm sure everyone has asked you about this. For people out there, you may recall this was a music video that you guys created a number of years ago, right? Like what, 2000?
Like 5 years at this point.
Yeah, 2015, 2014. And it's, up around 10 million views. It has experienced a renaissance, a second wind as a result of TikTok, where people have clipped, the what a coincidence.
Wow,
and
you can really dance.
yeah, wow, you can really dance. And they've been, making new dances and things. It's a perfect thing for TikTok. Tell us a little bit about the origin of that idea, how you shot it, and did you know as you were making it, like, this is going to be big?
Okay, so originally, me and James Manzello were in an audition room for a show we did called Joking Off years ago. And James had written this song, Dance, 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 What a Coincidence, for this show we used to do called Love in a Tub, which was like this really like ridiculous, I don't even know, it was like an 80s hair band that went off the rails, very weird live show. And we're in the audition room and I'm like, dude, do the coincidence thing. Dude, like I forget what the prompt was, but we like did it in the audition room. It killed in the audition room. And then we're downstairs from the audition in Times Square. And we're like, dude, we got to make that a thing. That worked way too well in the audition room. We got to like somehow expand on that thing. We were like, what if it's a song that cures all the problems in the world? And we were like, that's great. That's great. Like 2 hours later, I get a text on my phone and it's the whole lyrics for Coincidence. James just drafted up like everything. And I was like, this is fucking genius. We have to shoot this as soon as possible. We corralled, Giulio. We got a bunch of friends to play every part. And there was like a magic, because we've shot a lot of things together, me and James and Giulio, but there was like something about that production that we were like, this is going to be our most successful thing for the internet. It might not be like the most intellectually stimulating thing that we've done, or like the smartest thing that we've done. It's kind of stupid. And so we just rode with it. And we got Zach Ray to shoot it, who's like an unbelievable cinematographer. And it became this thing. And like it did well, like considering we usually get like 2,000 views on our YouTube videos. It was doing better than that. And like people were sharing it more. And I was like, oh, okay, this could maybe be something. And then like a couple big people shared it. And I was like, oh, wow, this is like actually catching some steam. We didn't think about it for however long, and then we got an inbox in the Handsome Dancer Gmail that was like, "Hey, in broken English, like, hey, we're from Taiwan. We want you to come shoot a car commercial for us in Taiwan." And we were like, "Oh, this is spam." Like, we didn't even take it seriously. We thought it was spam. And then like we got a couple more messages like that from the same email, and we were like, maybe this is real. And we like reached out to them. And they were serious. This car company, Skoda, wanted to fly us out to Taiwan to shoot a car commercial in Taiwan, in Taipei, which is like the capital city. And we were like, this is unbelievable. They flew us out. We were like celebrities in Taiwan, dude. It was so weird. Everybody knew the song because like these two girls did the dance and the song on their like blog in Taiwan. And they're like pretty big like in Taiwan. So we're huge in Taiwan.
Dude, the basketball game.
Oh yeah.
This is crazy.
This is how we knew the email was real, was because they sent us a video of a halftime show of a women's basketball game in Taiwan, and they're blasting Coincidence over the speakers, and the women's basketball team is doing the dance at halftime.
Dude, it's so funny.
Yeah, and we were just like, this is real life. This is like, what is happening? Because in America, it probably had like maybe 500,000 views at that point, and we were stoked about that. We were like, that's way more than we've ever gotten. But all of them were coming from Taiwan when we looked at the analytics, and we were like, oh my God, this is a thing. So they flew us over. It was like 8 days. It was like a fever dream, dude. Like Asia is a totally different place. They took us to the museum. They're like, you got to see the rock that looks like cabbage at this museum. And And we were like, what do you mean? And they were like, check it out, man. It's the rock that looks like cabbage. Go to the museum. It's dude, we waited online. People are taking pictures. We're really excited to see what this thing is. It is, I swear to God, a rock this big that someone chiseled. It wasn't even naturally found like that to look like cabbage. And this was the main event at this Taiwanese museum. And we were just like, whoa, we are in Asia. You know, this is a different ballgame.
Dude, really quick, when I was
Hilarious.
in China, we went to the National Cigarette Museum. And it was like a government-run museum that walked you through the history of cigarettes and tobacco and their importance to China, glorifying tobacco farmers, the brands, you know, and a lot, all those tobacco brands are like run and owned by the government. So,
Yeah.
by the way, there were only 2 other people in the entire museum. This is a massive museum, by the way.
Yeah.
And the only other 2 people was like a dad and his like 6-year-old son. And the dad was like pointing and teaching his son the glorious tradition of smoking cigarettes.
There are those videos every like a couple years of like a fat Chinese kid just smoking a whole pack of cigarettes. Like,
Yeah.
it is like embedded in their culture in a major way. Oh, I got shout out to Zach Ray again. He was like, yo, can you PA on this thing that I'm doing? Like be a production assistant. I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to stuff like that. But it was at the Dorito factory. And I got to eat a hot Dorito fresh off the
Wow.
Oh, wow.
fresh off.
Was
the
this
factory.
recent?
No, this was like probably like 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, dude. And they were delicious. The video was so weird. It was just like slow motion of like Doritos being made. I don't know what they needed it for, but I got to eat a Dorito.
Weren't those blindingly spicy though?
No, they were like just more crunchy, if that makes any sense.
Oh, you're talking about, I thought when you said a hot Dorito, I thought you meant one of those like Dare spicy ones that, remember when those came out? Those Doritos that were like
flaming hot. No, that's Cheetos.
Can you handle it?
Yeah.
No, yeah, it would be like a single chip, and people would dare some, like Shaq did it, and people you'd cough and you'd be crying.
Yes, I do remember that.
The one chip challenge.
It wasn't that. It was just literally the chips were hot because they were fresh off
That's cool.
the press.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
sick.
sorry, I didn't mean to stop you. So how did when you went and shot this commercial?
Yeah.
Did you guys know what you were going to get paid? Like, did you?
We knew we were going to get paid. We didn't know we were going to do like a whole ass ad campaign for them. We thought we were going to shoot a video, but dude, they did a flash mob in the middle of Taipei. 1,000 people showed up and just were doing the dance with us. They got the like best Taiwanese dancers to come and do like a circle with us. And like, we're doing the one move and these guys are doing full on breakdance. We felt like such idiots. Like they were like, do the move again. And we were like, again? Like my shoulder hurt by the end of the trip. And it was nuts, dude. People wanted autographs. People wanted to take pictures. And then we come home and, I'm doing a show at, who knows, some pizza shop in the back of Staten Island.
Yeah.
For getting paid in pizza.
Getting paid in pizza, yeah.
Well, dude, you guys, we'll include a clip of the song in the episode in case you guys, are too lazy to go check out the YouTube video, which I do recommend you do. And I guess for the YouTube, maybe we'll put a little piece of it in there as well. One thing that I noticed when I was working on this with you guys, and by working in, I mean appearing very briefly in it, but when you guys would make videos, I noticed this as well. And it's a testament to how much people want to be part of stuff that's cool. You know what I mean? So if you guys asked somebody to work on something, they were so excited to do it. And I remember that you made that video for like close to $0.
Yeah, it was cheap.
And like that, again, like borrowing equipment from people, borrowing people's time. I remember that you had like producers involved who are also donating their time. And like, it's very powerful to have a good plan in this business. It's just so hard to like sit down and focus and come up with that plan But once you
Yeah.
can do that, you really can do amazing things. And I think this video is a testament to that for sure.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, for sure. Is there a place we can see that car commercial? Is that still out there?
Yeah, it's still, if you type in Skoda, Skoda, and then Handsome Dancer, it's got like millions of views in Taiwan. Again, it's just like, it's a hilarious depiction of coincidence.
Nice.
And then we're like not doing anything with it. We think, wow, that's crazy. We got to travel the world because of this video. That's so cool. And then the TikTok thing, dude, I don't know how that happened. Someone just bit the clip and posted it, and we got zero credit for it because it's TikTok. No one even knows the original song or dance. And there's people like making merch with it now. Like it's taken on a completely other world that we never expected or were ready for, really. And I don't know if people make money off TikTok or how you do, but we didn't.
But is the track connected? Like usually there's a source track.
Now
like,
it is.
Oh, that's great.
It took a long time because at first they were just like using this girl who Major Kane or something is the one that it said it was an original sound from her. But now somehow TikTok like went in, I guess, and like reevaluated it, and it's linked to the Handsome Dancer song every time. Like J-Lo did it, dude. Terry Crews was doing it.
Yeah, I saw the Terry Crews one.
I've seen a bunch of them. Yeah,
right now, but
does it frustrate you that your thing is being used like that and you guys are not getting paid for it, or are you just happy to have it out there and making people happy and shit?
at first I was like upset about it, and I was like, I'm such an idiot. Like I really should have capitalized on this. This is, making like millions of people have seen it and no one even knows who originated it. And then I was like, this is kind of cool. This is like, what did we expect? We made a video for the internet. Like this,
Right.
we kind of won at what we were trying to do. Like make a viral video. That was the point of this whole thing. It went viral. It just in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And at least you made some money. I mean, the commercial is like a great,
No, for sure.
if you were making this video and they're like, listen, here's the deal. Millions of people are going to hear it. You might not make money for that necessarily. You're going to get millions of hits for it. You're going to get a bunch of clout for it. And you're going to get a paycheck from a commercial. Are you down to do it? You would have said yes.
Oh yeah. And you get to go to Taiwan. I would have been like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
Sign me up.
I remember I was thinking about coming with you guys, but I think I just didn't have enough money to like pay for the trip at the time.
Dude, one of the biggest regrets of my life is not just doing a whole Asia tour, dude. We could not for coincidence, but just like seeing Asia. Like I could have gone to Vietnam. I could have stayed in Taiwan for a little bit. They were like, you can stay here and become a model. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if that's what I want to do. But they were seriously trying to convince me and James to stay there and become male models. And
I bet he loved that.
Yeah, of course.
Of course he did.
He was trying to convince me to stay, and I was like, "No, dude. Like, we got to get home." Like, I don't know.
Right.
What?
Poor James.
What made you come home?
The ticket was only for the 8 days, and like we didn't have a place to stay. And I mean, I could have figured it all out if I was more adventurous, but I'm not really that type of guy that just like pulls the trigger on an Asia trip while I'm already in Asia. You know?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's a very me thing to do, realistically.
Yes, that is the most Giulio thing. I'm staying in Taiwan.
And
Where you living? I don't know.
Francis, so this reminds me of something funny. So Pavich brought his girlfriend at the time with him, and James inevitably is like sort of third wheeling, and like a couple years before that, James and I randomly booked this Apple commercial that shot in Prague. And I brought my girlfriend to that. So James was third wheeling. So James is like booking all this great international gigs, but like he's the third wheel in every single situation, which is like, must have been a bummer, dude.
Yeah, he wasn't thrilled about it. He told me once we got there, he was like, you never asked me if you could bring your girlfriend. And I was like, oh, I didn't think I had to ask. And he was like, well, I thought it'd be like more of a boys trip. I was like, yeah, you're probably right.
That's a tough one to navigate. I could see it both ways.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, very cool, dude. So
Cool.
yeah.
So, dude,
Let's-
Pavich, or sorry,
Yeah.
what were you going to say?
Go ahead, G. No, you got it.
All right. So, I wanted to ask you about this because we've talked about it a couple of times when we talk about, bipolar disorder, if that's what it's called. I'm sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly. I know you're open about
that's
talking
what it's
about
called.
this. You're open about talking about this in your stand-up and stuff. So I've always wanted to ask you because people like to people throw it around a lot, and I'm sure people suffer from it in different degrees. But you're a person who I know it has really affected
Yes.
in a way that is pretty significant, to the point where your friends know to if maybe you're starting to have an episode or whatever, there are indications that are sometimes sometimes the indications we're talking about them in a serious manner, but they're kind of funny things. So
Yeah,
it'll be
they are
oh dude, Pavich is wearing jewelry again, dude. Here we go.
or, a
Buckle
band-
up.
or a bandana. It's bad if I'm wearing a bandana, dude.
Right. There's a list. One of them is that you're playing pickup basketball in the cage with normal clothes on. That's one of the things.
In jeans and a dress shirt, and I'm just drenched in sweat. Ricky always tells that story. He's like, yeah, I was like, what did you play in? Did you change? And I'm just like, nope, played in this.
You were that guy.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to think who are listening that I'm being insensitive. Matt is one of my best friends, and we talk. We talk about this and joke about it all the time.
Yeah.
But I have so many questions for you about it that maybe I've never asked, and one of them I think pertains directly to this time that we're going through. They've kind of been saying in the media how with all the COVID stuff, people who have kind of existing mental illnesses are maybe more vulnerable to having episodes or that kind of stuff. And I wanted to know your personal take on that, how it's affected you, if it has affected you, and what you think about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, just a little background. I am bipolar 1, which is different than bipolar 2. Bipolar 1, I get manic episodes that are so strong that I have to be hospitalized. There's different degrees of mania. Bipolar 2, you get hypomanic phases, so you're not full blown manic. And when I'm manic, like you said, I chain smoke cigarettes, I rap, which is not good for anybody. I think I can rap. I just blast music everywhere that I go. I'm insufferable to be around pretty much. I talk really fast. I think I'm the greatest genius savant of all time. And so there are a lot of telltale signs. So now that I'm living with my girlfriend and she's she's gone through one of those manic episodes with me, it is really helpful to have someone to check you every now and then. During quarantine, I haven't had any manic tendencies, but definitely towards the depressed area. We're just whoa, what is happening in the world? Sleeping too much, because that is also part of bipolar. Is you're not just manic, you crash and have depressive episodes. So there has been a lot of woe is me, but I am medicated, which is good, and I've been going to therapy over the phone, which is huge, and I have meetings with my psychiatrist. Yeah, that's the right word. Once a month. So I am trying very actively to do the right thing during quarantine, because I know that it is a scary time. So there hasn't been any manic stuff, but there has been some depressive issues during the quarantine. I know that's less funny.
No, it's okay.
No, we weren't hoping for the funniest answer on this topic necessarily. Matt, what is there anything in particular that triggers these manic episodes?
Yeah, I think not taking my meds is a huge part of it. I kind of get in these grooves where I'm it's ruining my creativity, it's desensitizing my brain. It's making me too tired. So I'll be I'm just going to go off the meds and see how I feel. That's what I've done most of my 20s, anytime that I'm doing all right, and it really fucks me up. And then I start doing drugs, and then I start trying to self-medicate the highs and the lows, and then I'm fucked. Also, it's a seasonal thing. When the weather gets warmer for some reason, that's when I've had all of my manic episodes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I can't figure out what that is, but apparently it's like quite common. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, sort of. It's starting to get nice out. You're feeling good. You're like, fuck, riding sort of the natural high that comes along with the weather changing.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question. What happens in your brain where during this happening, you decide I need to rap?
That's a good question. No, that's a really good question. I think it mostly comes from like a delusional self of like a delusional sense of grandeur. Like you get delusions of grandeur when you're manic, and I just think I'm such hot shit that I should share this blessing of my rap skills with the world. And dude, I can play you some of the songs. I mean, it's just like rambling of just how awesome I am and how much like I love doing cocaine. And like I'm like showing this to like my family. I'm like, what do you think of this new song? And they're just like, oh, we need to check you in again. Like,
well, it's funny because what you just described sounds like the basis of every rap song written in the 2000s. And it makes you wonder how many rappers are undiagnosed bipolar disorder people.
Dude,
Kanye's running for president, dude.
Yeah.
Like
he's definitely, I don't want to diagnose anyone, but he has some sort of manic symptoms of, the delusions of grandeur. And what happens in my brain, it's hard to like know because I have like blackouts from manic episodes. Like I don't remember everything. And I don't really understand like why I would rap, but I think it mostly comes from me just thinking I am the shit, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Every thought that I have, I'm like, this is the one that's I'm gonna make it because of this thought. And then I write it down, and it's like, cereal's not that good when it's cold. Like it's like what? Like,
sorry, dude.
Yeah, it sucks.
Well, I've noticed too, like. You've definitely had moments, and you've said this to me before, but you've had moments where like it has impacted your momentum in your career, or it has affected your work life. And has it taken time to get to a point for you, or have you not gotten to a point yet where you can do this, but like where you just put it behind you and look forward, where you're like, I could sit here and dwell on how I like fucked up my momentum but like how do you deal with that? Like mentally?
That's one of the most crippling things about this whole thing is just like the regret and like the embarrassment of things that you've done when you're manic. Like I have like friends that I haven't seen because I'm just like, I don't want to like remember what I did last time I saw them. And like my really good friends have like expressed to me, like UG, like have expressed to me like, dude, don't worry about it. Like we know that's not you. Like we no one holds you accountable. Like not that I'm not accountable, but like we understand that all of that was from this fucking horrible illness. Like you're good. Like we understand. But I do dwell on the past way too much, and it's something I'm trying to like get better at and let go of, because it's just crippling. Even if you're not manic or bipolar or whatever, just thinking about like all the bad shit you've done, like what fucking you learn from it and you move on. But like there's really no point in just dwelling on all the stupid shit that you said and have done and like opportunities you've ruined.
Mm-hmm. Are you capable, as you've come to terms with your bipolar disorder, are you more capable of recognizing signs that you are coming into a manic episode, or even stepping outside of yourself while you're in one and saying, oh shit, things have come loose, I need to sort this out?
Unfortunately, I have not been able to do that in any of my manic episodes. I really hope that I'm at a point now. I'm thinking about like getting tattoos. I know that sounds crazy, but like listen tattoos and like trying to do something to like, one time I wrote a letter to myself when I was like in a sound state of mind and was like, give me this letter if I'm acting up. And I will read it. And I did read it, and I was just like, fuck this letter. Like I'm the shit. Like, I don't know who wrote this letter. Like, it was so obviously me, and I was just like, nah, fuck all that. So
That sounds like a far less romantic version of The Notebook.
yeah, yeah, much sadder, more psych wordy.
Read me this letter and I'll come back to you from the thralls of Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah. No, I really, everything that I'm doing right now, all the work that I'm doing with my therapist and my psychiatrist and like my family is like, let's try and get to a point where I can recognize that I am going into a manic episode. And to be totally fair to myself, a few months ago, maybe like a year ago at this point, my girlfriend and my buddy were like, dude, I think you're on social media a little bit more. You're like smoking cigarettes a little bit more. What's going on? And I was able to like start making sure that I went to bed at the same time, like, and making sure I got enough rest and like slowed down. And I think that I did avoid a manic episode from that. So that was like the most success I've had with it. And that was like a year ago. So hopefully, I will be able to step out of it and chill this next time that it happens. That's the thing too. It's like, it's always like coming or not coming.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Well, good for you for fighting the good fight, man. I mean, what would you say to people who are going through similar things as you are? Like, is there anything you can say to offer any like hope or inspiration or anything that you've learned?
Yeah, you just got to fight. You have to really actively, like you said, fight the good fight. Make sure you're going to your appointments with your therapist and your psychiatrist, and that you're taking your meds, and that you're going to bed at a reasonable time and waking up at a reasonable time. Sleep is like such an important part of this whole thing. When I'm manic, I don't sleep for like days. It's like superhuman, like how little I sleep. So yeah, just take your meds. If the meds are not right for you, like don't be shy and like tell your psychiatrist and try. It took me years to find the right milligram dose and like right medicine. And even like sometimes now I'm like, maybe I should tweak it a little bit. It's like, it's an ongoing struggle, but you just have to do the work. Journaling is a huge thing because you can look at your journal and be like, I just wrote 16 pages today. Maybe something,
Dude, one of the things that's really stuck with me from Gary Gulman's recent HBO special, The Great Depression, was
so good.
It's so good. If you haven't seen it, go watch it immediately. It's an amazing sort of treatise on mental health as well as a fascinating look at self-discovery through crippling depression. And one of the things that he talked about was how the medications, I mean, he's been fighting depression for, his whole life, 40 odd years. And how at one point in the special, he lists all of the medicines that he's taken. And it's like 35 different medications.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'll take them in combinations with each other, and some will exacerbate certain symptoms. And it's this crazy tweaking of dosages and mixtures, and your brain is constantly evolving. So like if he adjusts to one, he has to kind of switch and go to another. And I have to believe, that is an exhausting part of it, but also one of the most important aspects of fighting mental illness.
Yeah, just getting over like the idea. This recently has been like a thing that I've finally come to grips with, is like the medicine is not bad. Like for so long, I was like, fuck these meds. The pharmaceutical companies are trying to cash in on my mental illness. Fuck all that. I'm bipolar and I'm proud. Like all this, just take the meds. I mean, don't take like any meds that they're giving you, but like find the one that's right for you and like take it every day. That would be my advice.
Here's another question. What do you think about people, especially big prominent figures? I don't want to say Scientologists directly, but anybody that basically says psychology and psychiatry are quack science It's all bullshit. You can self-heal through, meditation, whatever the fuck. Do you think, what do you think about those people?
I mean, to each their own, I guess. Do they use like healing crystals? I don't even know what they're using. Like, I think my therapy has helped more than probably anything, even more than the meds. It's just like talking shit out and like getting over the horrible stigma of, I was like so ashamed of it for so long. And then finally one therapist was like, why don't you talk about it on stage? And that was probably the most liberating thing that I have ever done, is just being like, yeah, I'm bipolar. Like, it's not a secret. And then, you don't feel as ashamed of it. People are like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That checks out. I saw you dancing for 6 hours on, like, yeah, like I just thought you were on drugs. Like, like things, it just makes it easier if you're honest and like having dialogue about it rather than hiding this, thing that's such a big part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Totally, dude.
Do you think there's such a prevalence of mental illness in stand-up comedy? I mean, we've talked about it many times. I always wonder if it's like a chicken or an egg thing. Like, does the field attract people who are suffering from mental illness, or once they get into it, do they sort of realize I have some problems? So that's my first question. And then my second question would be, do you think that everybody who goes up on stage and talks about their mental illness, whether it's bipolar disorder or depression, do you think that everyone is being completely honest and sincere? Or do you think that there are some comedians who lean into that because maybe they realize that this is a theme that is very common and mined, and like there's a lot of humor to be found within it?
It's hot right now.
Yeah.
Mental illness is so hot right now. Let's talk about it. I really hope not. If anyone's doing that, that's like fucked up.
Totally.
I never even thought about that. No, I think it's just so prevalent that everyone has an experience with it, even if it's not directly like you that's affected by it. Everyone has a family member, everyone has a friend. Now that I'm talking about it on stage, like a lot, people come up to me after shows, like, I'm mentally ill too. I pulled a knife out on my dad. Like, it's like my fan base is really going to be a very funny one, I think, once it's all said and done. Taiwanese and the mentally ill. So I really hope no one's doing that. That would be crazy. And the chicken or the egg thing is so, I mean, the lifestyle of being a comic is not really that healthy. So I would but like, it also does attract. That's a tough one. I really don't know.
Both, right?
I would say both. I think definitely people are attracted to doing stand-up comedy because they're mentally ill. And I would say that the game of stand-up comedy could exacerbate, in a major way, all of the symptoms, and just like look at the life that we live, going to, it's the grind is impossible.
It's late at night. It's surrounded constantly by drinking and marijuana, and there's a crazy, like, one of the things that I've often told my girlfriend to try to justify why I smoke weed as much as I do is that I'm often out doing spots until midnight or whatever, and I get home and I don't want to need 2 hours to unwind from the adrenaline rush of performing. And so I'll puff, a joint a couple times, and then that brings me down, and then I can get to bed earlier. But I don't even know if that's true. Yeah, but I don't even know if that's true, or if that's just something I tell myself to rationalize how much weed I smoke. That's how lost in the clouds I am on this shit.
Yeah. My relationship with weed has been very tumultuous also, because like doctors say that it can, make symptoms worse and stuff.
But I've always been like, it helps with anxiety, but then sometimes I get anxiety from smoking weed. So like the jury's really not out. I know we're like going to legalize it and that's great. And like all that, but like, I think there is a correlation, a stronger correlation than people are willing to admit between like mental illness stuff and how strong weed is these days.
Mm-hmm.
Francis, I think it's a nice testament to your complicated personality that you are a really big pot smoker. I remember before we knew each other really well, I gave Francis an edible once and I was like, don't eat the whole thing. And Francis is like, dude, I got it. Like Francis.
Yeah. I think I said to Giulio, I think this is what I said. I think I said, I ain't no bitch. I think those were the words I chose.
Like realistically, your tolerance for edibles is like significantly higher than mine.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you like you don't know anything. It's so funny.
But I do have a hard and fast rule, which I abide by with weed, which is that I won't smoke it or eat it when the sun is still out during like the working week. You know what I mean? On
That's
rare
a
occasions,
really
like
good rule.
yeah,
That's a
if I'm on vacation or I'm out here and like this weekend went to a 4th of July party and like I smoked some weed or whatever, but I won't touch it before exercising, before getting my work done. I view it like having a glass of wine.
Right.
The problem is my tolerance has gone up so much that like my nightly glass of wine has become my nightly box or jug of wine.
Right. Yeah.
And that is a little troubling.
Yeah.
I think you'll be all right.
I think you'll be all right too.
Cool.
Well, awesome. Any further questions for our dear friend Matt Pavich?
No, I think that's it for me. Matt, where can we find you and all that stuff?
Matt Pavich Comedy is my Instagram. Just dropped a good sketch on there.
It's a very funny sketch, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Check it out.
Yeah, that's the only one.
Awesome. Check him out, guys. Matt Pavich Comedy. That's Matt Pavich talking all things mental health and otherwise. And also go back and watch the Coincidence video again because it's so fucking good. We are Oops the Podcast. Thanks for joining us, Matt. We'll see you guys soon. Send everything you've got to oopsthepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll see you tomorrow.
And check out the YouTube channel.
Hell yeah.
Well, thank you. If you like that video, check out our channel where we have way more videos. I just don't know how to do this. This is unbelievable. If you like that video, we have way more videos on our channel. Please like and subscribe. Turn on notifications if you want to know when there are new ones. But if not, check them out, and we appreciate it.
Oops.